Tudor Cooking with Claire. Now today I'm going to do a Christmas recipe, a recipe for lambswool or wassail. Tudor Christmas festivities were not complete without a communal bowl of wassail or lambswool, which was made using cider or ale, and it was actually a sort of warm drink, and it was put in a communal bowl and then passed around, and there was lots of merrymaking and wassail, drink ale, and toasting each other and that. We've got this 17th century poem, Robert Herrick, in Twelfth Night. There's a verse about wassail. Next crown the bowl full with gentle lambswool, add sugar, nutmeg and ginger with store of ale too, and thus you must do to make a wassail a swinger. So that's what we're going to do today. The recipe I've got, and there are lots and lots of different recipes online on the internet for wassail or lambswool, and also in the traditional recipe books from the time. This one I actually found, I wanted to do quite a simple one. This one I found on a forum, travellingwithintheworld.com. It's put on there by Kimber Flory, and it's based on another recipe from historicalfoods.com, who actually their website doesn't seem to exist anymore, but I'd got this recipe saved in a folder. Now this recipe is actually based on that poem because Robert Herrick mentions sugar, nutmeg, ginger and ale. So all of the ingredients here are based on that traditional 17th century poem. So we've going to be using 1.5 litres of ale. You could use ale, traditional real ale, stout, something like sort of Guinness or Murphy's, or you could use cider, any type you want, it really doesn't matter. So I'm using a sort of traditional kind of stout. 6 apples. Now the recipe that I found says cooking apples, but actually here in Spain they're just apples. So I've got 6 kind of medium size normal eating apples. Nutmeg, these whole nutmeg, and it says a whole nutmeg grated, so I'll be grating that in a bit. 1 teaspoon of ground ginger. Now you can actually use ginger root if you want, and sort of slice that and put it in. 150 grams of brown sugar. And that's it. So it's nice and simple with the ingredients. Now the first thing we have to do is prepare the apples. We need to core them because we're actually baking them in their skins. So all we need to do is to core them and then put them on a baking sheet. So I'm going to be doing that now, and I'll see you in a few minutes. I've cored all 6 of the apples there and put them on greaseproof paper. I've spaced them out in case they swell while they're cooking, and they're going in at 120 degrees centigrade, so quite a low heat in the oven, and they're going in for about an hour until they're soft and pulpy. I'm going to keep checking them every now and then just to see how they're doing. They might need longer or they might need less, so we'll keep an eye on them, but just until they're soft and pulpy so that we can then mix them with the wassail. While the apples are cooling after baking in the oven, I'm going to start on the liquid side of things. So I'm going to put in the 150 grams of brown sugar, and then I'm just going to cover that with some of the ale. And now I'm just going to heat that until the brown sugar melts into the liquid. So I've got a nice tall pan so that it will fit my beer in, and also later I'll be adding the apple to it and doing some whisking, so I obviously don't want it boiling over or splashing all over the place. So I'm just going to let that heat gently until the sugar has dissolved. Right, the sugar's now melted, still got it on a gentle heat. It's wonderful, the smell that I'm getting from the ale. Really, really nice smell. Now I've got a teaspoon of ground ginger. Again, as I said, you can use root ginger. And the recipe says a whole nutmeg grated, but I've actually just grated half a nutmeg. You can do it to your own taste, really. So I'm just adding that in. Oh, the smells as that hits the ale. Whoa, that's a really nice smell, really spicy. Really love the smell of ginger and nutmeg. You could also add things like cloves as well. I've seen recipes for wassail with cloves. Just making sure that don't get any lumps. Although I'll be whisking it later anyway, so it doesn't matter too much. And then I start adding the rest of the ale. As I said earlier, you could use any kind of traditional sort of real ale or stout. Or you could do a cider one, which would go really well, obviously, with the apples. And I'm just going to heat that gently for 10 minutes. While I deal with the apples, I'm going to be mashing the baked apples. Okay, my apples are really nicely baked there, lovely and soft. So now the trick is, actually mine are a little bit too hot to handle, but I'm going to go for it anyway. I've got kind of good fingers from doing waitressing when I was in my teens and emptying very hot dishwashers. So now I'm just going to scrape the flesh out. I've got a grapefruit knife because they're really good at kind of scooping flesh out. Now I've removed as much of the skin as I could, and I've now got some lovely apple pulp. It says to mash it with a fork, but I'm actually going to use my potato masher because I know that this works really well for my potatoes. So I think this will mash this really well. So I'm going to mash it until there are no more lumps. There's a bit of. Now I've got my pureed apples, which I mashed with my potato masher. You can also, finish it off in a blender if you want it really blended. Just going to add that to my warm ale and spice mixture. I wish I had smell-o-vision because the smell that's coming off this ale is just wonderful. And now I'm just whisking it through just to combine it. And then just on a gentle heat, I'm going to leave it to heat for 30 minutes. Just stirring it every now and then. My wassail has now been heating for 30 minutes. I've just left it a few minutes just to cool. While it was heating, it was really, really frothy. It looked brilliant. You could see why it was called lambswool because of the froth on it. Before you serve it, I mean, you can reheat it whenever you want to serve it. So if you're having a party, just reheat it when you need to. Just give it a whisk before you serve it to get that froth coming back again. The apple actually rises to the surface and you get a nice head to it. And then you can either pass it around in like a punch bowl, or I'm just ladling it into a giant coffee cup. Again, you could give it a bit of a whisk in that. And then you would do a toast. You cheers, people. Wassail, drink ale. And I'm just going to have a try of it. That's really nice. It's a really, really nice change from mulled wine. I have to be careful because you get sort of load of the apple bits coming up. That really is nice. And of course I haven't let it boil, so the alcohol hasn't burnt off, so you've still got the alcohol from the ale in it. But it's really, really nice, and now I'm kind of getting the hints of the spices, and it's really, really, really lovely, really good. I'm going to have a bit more. And I thought I'd just share with you something I found about the history. The word wassail actually comes from Anglo-Saxon period, and it means your good health or be whole. So when you're cheersing someone, saying it's like the Spanish here, you say salud instead of cheers, and that means health. So it's the same thing. You go wassail, drink ale, and you're saying your good health. We don't have much information about wassailing in Tudor times, just the sort of the recipes. But there is one description from the reign of Henry VII. So, right at the end of the 15th, early 16th century, which describes a very formal occasion where the steward and treasurer were present along with their staves of office. The steward would enter the court with the wassail, so that's the big communal bowl, and cry out, "Wassail!" 3 times. "Wassail! Wassail! Wassail!" And then the people would reply with a song. And obviously that's a very formal occasion, being the king's court, but people in the country, people in general, the English common people, would enjoy the wassail as well, with the communal bowl of drink that would be passed around. And even people of high society would drink from a communal bowl because it was a tradition. At the bottom of the wassail bowl, and you can do this yourself at the bottom of your wassail, was a crust of bread, which at the end of the wassail, when everyone had drunk the wassail, this chunk of good bread was presented to the most important person present. And it is thought that that's where our present day tradition of toasting people at wedding receptions and parties come from, this toast, this crust of bread at the bottom of the wassail. The first stanza of the famous Gloucestershire wassail carol, which dates back to the Middle Ages, says, "Wassail, wassail, all over the town. Our toast it is white, and our ale it is brown. Our bowl it is made of the white maple tree. With the wassailing bowl we'll drink to thee." So I really hope you have a lovely Christmas, and here's to your good health. Wassail, drink ale.